morning, and welcome to Police Forum. Before we start, let me first apologize uh, for our late start this morning. Um, Unfortunately, there was a little delay in me getting to the studio today due to some other matters that I was addressing. We all understand in the policing world, the nature of the work is so dynamic that at any point in time, you may have to redirect or redivert based on the demands or the needs of the day. However, I know I have a good studio DJ who would grant me a little additional time into his segment, so I could take the time to educate and sensitize the public on important policing matters that we believe is of paramount importance to the citizenry, matters that we believe that is important in keeping each and everyone safe throughout the season. Let me once again say pleasant good morning to everyone in Radio Land, my people of Soufrière, my people of Choiseul. I am your Inspector Kim Moirene, in charge of the Soufrière Choiseul Police Station. And yet again, we are here for another police forum, the primary policing show that sensitize and educate. I know there are other policing shows, on other radio stations and other social media networks. However, I believe this one is the most educational, most interactive, most fun show, policing show. And I want to thank the listening public and everyone for the contribution. I want to say good morning to my police officers at the Soufrière and the Choiseul Police Station. A pleasant good morning to you. A fantastic good morning to WSPC Mistress Portia Jabatis, our diarists who on a daily basis provide the best customer service throughout the length of breadth of this island as it relates to responding or taking your reports and having it addressed. Let me say good morning to Sergeant Mark at the Soufrière Police Station. Good morning to Sergeant Smith at the Choiseul Police Station. Let me say fantastic good morning to my guys on the waterfront, the members of the Almond Taxi Association. Good morning to you. Fantastic good morning also to the members of the Soufrière Taxi Association. As we're about to start the cruise season, I know you guys are with bated breath for the excitement and fun of doing your job. I know you are ambassadors for the island and contribute to the safety and security and well-being of every customer you come into contact with. Let me say good morning to the guys on the block, Ramak Zone Dennis, Mr. Ryan Riviere. Fantastic good morning to the people at the courthouse. Good morning to Mr. Michael Gustav, who on a daily basis provides, insight and knowledge on his experience being a business person in Soufrière. Let me say good morning to the staff at Cool Breeze and the Rubis gas station on the waterfront, and also our fantastic banker, Solution Bank manager. Say a fantastic good morning to you. Again, let me welcome everyone who is joining us on the live, those persons who regularly join us and contribute. Today's focus will be robbery, sensitization, and safety techniques. And it is important that we discuss those matters because today is the 4th of October and we are approaching the festive season. Firstly, we are approaching the festive season, and secondly, we are approaching the cruise season, where we are going to see an increased amount of business activity in and within the town of Soufrière and St. Lucia by extension. Everybody's going to be into the Christmas shopping, the preparation, June Keol. We're going to have a bumper cruise this year because we are expecting larger vessels and larger numbers of cruise passengers. And one of the contributing factors is as a result of Hurricane Beryl and its impact on St. Vincent. Most of the port calls will be rediverted to St. Lucia. So we are expecting, a very good cruise year. So it is important that as business people, it's important as the citizenry that we understand what measures we must put in place to safeguard our lives, our businesses, and the people that we interact with. So today's focus will be basically on robberies. What is a robbery and how to avoid being a victim of a robbery, whether it's from a personal perspective or from a business perspective. And it's important that we understand that. And it is our job as the police, firstly, to educate you on what you should not do, um, that will attract, unnecessary attention. And secondly, our job, and even more importantly, is to provide that safety net, that mechanism, that patrol mechanism that will, at any point in time, deter a criminal from committing an act of robbery. I have heard the argument that the police cannot be everywhere all the time, and sometimes I feel that this is a cop out for a lot of us as law enforcement, because in my opinion, it is we must provide, as a professional organization, as a law enforcement, as a security organization, we must create the environment where criminals or would-be criminals will feel that they are not safe, and that there should be that discomfort that, hey, they will be caught, because crime, is as a result of opportunity. And I will speak on that. I will speak on that. The triangle of crime. What really allow and facilitate a criminal to be able to be bold and brave enough to commit a crime, and that is what we must. That is the element we must take away from them. That element of the opportunity, one, two, the ability, and three, the intent. So the criminal must have the intention, and then now, secondly, he must have the ability, the resources, the firearm, and then now the opportunity, a lack of law enforcement presence, a lack of security measures, a large amount of cash or jewelry openly exposed for the taking. That now is the perfect recipe for the perfect crime. And our job as police is to take away, one, the opportunity from that criminal to, one, commit that offense, and secondly, to get away with it successfully. So this is what I believe, and we must create that environment, that discomfort to that would-be criminal, that, hey, I will not be able to do it and get away with it successfully. So that is why we must develop patrol strategies. We must develop proactive policing strategies that will result in the successful interception and arrest of persons who intend on committing crimes. The focus of today, like I say, is on robbery, and then we'll be speaking on the definition of robbery, the offense of robbery based on what our criminal code, which is our primary piece of legislation on this island, the 5 stage of violent crime, what to do during a robbery and what you should not do, robbery prevention techniques, and the pyramid of personal safety. So I will be focused on each aspect of those areas, basically sensitizing and educating the business community on what they should and should not do. And firstly, let's start with what the definition of a robbery is. A person commits the offense of robbery if he or she steals, and immediately before or at the time of doing so, and in order to do so, he or she uses force on the person, or put or seeks to put the person in fear of being then and there subject to force. Now, I will repeat that because, I want us to understand what exactly a robbery is and how to differentiate what a robbery is and what a theft is and what a burglary is. Right? So I will again repeat that. And it says a person commits the offense of robbery, right? Commits the offense of robbery if he or she steals, and immediately before or at the time of doing so, and in order to do so, he or she uses force on the person, or puts or seek to put the person in fear of being then and there subject to force. So what do you understand by that? So most time I hear people say, my house was robbed, right? And you ask, your house was robbed? And they say, yeah, my house was robbed last night. They took my TV and they took my phone and they took my jewelry. And then based on that definition, right? That cannot be possible because, as the definition speaks and it says clearly, it says that if the person uses force and puts on the person or persons fear of force. So you can rob a person because for there to be robbery, there must be force or fear of force or fear of violence. So I cannot rob a house because I can't put the house in fear. I can't use force against the house. So I cannot rob a, well, you say rob a bank. You don't rob the bank. You rob the staff and people at the bank, right? So the building itself is not robbed. The people and staff at the bank are the victims of robbery. So when somebody enters your house, there could be one, there could be an unlawful entry. Two, it could be a burglary. Three, it could be a theft, a stealing, right? So that is clearly different from, so you can't rob a car, you can't rob a house, you can't rob a boat, right? You can't rob a school. You could rob persons in those structures, but you could rob a person, right? So that basically is a definition, the differentiation between what is a robbery and what is a burglary. Okay, so it is important that we understand that to be able to know when we are when we are a victim, and how to avoid being a victim of robbery. And the offense of robbery is an offense under our criminal code section 206, right? And the penalty for robbery: a person who commits the offense of robbery or of an assault with the intent to rob is liable on conviction, on indictment, to imprisonment for 20 years. So that's section 2062 of the Criminal Code of St. Lucia. So if somebody robs you, or anybody who intends on committing a robbery, understand that the possibility exists that you could serve 20 years in prison for that offense, right? And it does not matter that whether you were successful or unsuccessful in the commission of that offense, as long as there was an intent to commit or to steal or to put that person in fear, then the possibility exists of you being sentenced to jail for 20 years. So you understand that, Erland? We see a lot of young persons believe they could go, into town and tell you, pass it. Some of them, and in a recent exercise we had in the Suffolk town, we found two young boys with what appeared to be an imitation firearm. And in their mind, that they will believe that it's not a real firearm. So, it's a toy gun. Yeah, it's a toy gun. So, they will not be penalized for it. However, the criminal code does make provision. If you use that toy gun, right, in an attempt to rob somebody or put the person in fear, that is just as if you had a real firearm. And then you could face the same penalty of having in your possession an imitation firearm for the purpose of committing a criminal act. So, it is important that we understand what can happen when we engage in criminal activities. So it is important that, persons, firstly, not even think of engaging in those activities, and secondly, what can happen? 16 years, what are you doing for firearm? Or why are you trying to rob someone? You see somebody with a phone and you have a toy gun and tell them, pass it. You are engaged in the offense of robbery. And you could serve up to 20 years. Just imagine at 16 years or at 17 years, you are placed behind bars and then have to serve 20 years of your life. By the time you come out, you could barely even pick up because life have left you behind, right? And then you now becomes, almost a liability to society because you are you must be really strong mentally, physically, emotionally. You must have the support mechanisms to be able to get yourself back on track. So that's why we see so much recidivism in our system. With a lot of the young persons, after they've served time, they are back into the same thing because they don't have that support structure that supports the family support structure, the country support structure to get them back into a life of productivity, a life of gainful employment. So it is important that young people understand the consequence of their actions, and that they try to divert from that. I forgot to mention the teachers this morning. A fantastic good morning to every teacher in and around Suffer and Shozel. I know it's Teacher Appreciation Week, and I know those are the issues that you have to deal with, because you are like the second parent to most of our children, who on a daily basis would interact with them even more than us. And it is important that you are able to guide and direct them. So let me say a fantastic good morning to all the teachers, and happy Teacher Appreciation Week. We continue to, appreciate the effort that you do with our children, keeping them safe, and also providing them that core foundation of education, which will drive and protect them as they get older. So let us speak of the 5 stages of violent crime. Again, I intimated that there is the crime. There's a triangle, the crime triangle, which basically tells you the 3 axes of what really allows for a crime to be committed. First, there must be the intent. So there must be the criminal intent. And in criminal law, for something to be a crime, there must be what is called the mens rea, and it's Latin. It's called mens rea, which is the guilty mind, guilty conscience. You must have the intent, right? So before you commit that crime, right, you plan to do that, to commit that crime. And then now that being followed by what is called the actus reus. And those are Latin terms that we learn in criminal law. And actus reus means the actor actually went ahead and executed that guilty thought and intent you have. So yes, so that's why there's a difference between causing death by dangerous driving and murder. So homicide is the killing of a person by another person. So that's a homicide, right? But then now you have a vehicle driver who gets involved in an accident. Then you would ask, why wasn't he arrested for murder? Because homicide is, why is that not a homicide? The homicide, why is it not murder? Because a homicide is the killing of a person by another person, right? But then now in homicide, there is a section of murder. So a murder is a homicide. So you have different categories of homicide. So a police-related shooting is a homicide, but it may not be a murder. A murder is the unlawful killing of a person by another person. And when they say unlawful, they mean there was the actus reus, right? There was the mens rea, which means there was a guilty conscience, the guilty thought, and then there was the act, you shot or stab that person, right? So that now makes it a homicide. And then you have the different categories of homicides: first degree murder, first degree, second degree, third degree. And that now will determine the action. The action really will determine how serious, what category it falls in a murder. But then now, with a vehicular accident where somebody dies, it's not a crime per se, because there was not the mens rea. So I'm driving, I never intended to kill Erland, right? So yes, there's the actus reus, which is the action. I knock you and you died. There's one element of a crime, of a criminal offense, which is the actus reus, you died. But then the first element, which is one of the most important, is the guilty mindset, the guilty intent to kill you. So then that element not being there.
Like something being malicious.
Yeah. So that not being there does not now make it a criminal offense. Right? It was not intentional. So that's when we speak of the crime triangle, and we speak the stage of violent crime. So there must be the intent. So there must be, firstly, the mens rea. I intend to rob Erland, right? Erland normally goes to work every day at 10 and he leaves at 2 o'clock or midday. I am going to wait for him when he crosses the bridge. I know he has a laptop, I know he has money, I know he gets paid whatever day during the week. I'm going to wait on that day and I'm going to rob him. And then now, there's the ability Am I strong enough? Do I need somebody else? Do I need a firearm? Is Ulan bigger than me? Can I go with it up to him barehanded? Do I need to arm myself? So do I have the ability to um, commit that offense? Will I be successful? Right? And then now, thirdly, the opportunity. Is Erlen always using the same route? If Erlen now chooses to use a different route on that day, then now that opportunity is removed because where I intend to wait for Erlen, he's no longer passing there. So I will not have that opportunity to rob him. So as citizens, it is our focus now is on opportunity because the criminal will have the intent. The criminal may have the ability, but if we don't give them the opportunity to commit that crime, then now he or she may not be able to successfully execute it. And those are the things we need to focus on as business people, as citizens. What do we do as business people to avoid, criminals getting that opportunity? So then we had a robbery incident at Big Gardens just this week,
Yes.
right? The goal, and then we see it on social media. The question is, did we give the thief the opportunity to commit that kind of robbery? Did we do a risk assessment of what exactly we will be engaging in as a business? Did Big Adams or whoever was doing that look at, is one security enough? Right? Where is the exit entry point? Where are our soft spots? Right? Should we now try to have, instead of one unarmed security, have an armed guard? Because what commodity are we selling? Is it the high value commodity that will attract criminals? Right? So, as a business person, you must always be engaged in the process of risk assessment, assessing the risk that your business poses to attracting criminals or criminal element. And those are the things as individuals we must do, and as business people we must do even more to engage in the proper mechanisms. The reality is there are firearms, there are persons who have the intent to commit those crimes, but do we give them the opportunity? And I speak to my officers, even to my officers, I speak to them on a daily basis. When you go out there to patrol, you must carry yourself and you must be positioned to take away that opportunity. You must be assertive one. You must be alert when you engage in somebody. You're doing a traffic check. You don't know who you're engaging with, right? Don't go lackadaisically to the person, right? Because that person may be somebody who's wanted for murder, and he knows that if he's incarcerated, he's arrested, he will be in jail for the rest of his life. Does he want to be in jail for the rest of his life? No. But a little police officer, in his mind, that little police officer may don't even have a gun or may looking lapo, right? Will today put me in jail? No. If I could take me out first, I'll do it because already I'm a wanted man, right? So, as a police officer, you must always be engaged in risk assessing, assessing the risk to you as a police officer. How do you engage the public? And it's not about aggression. It's about being assertive, being confident, right? Being aware. You must always have situational and environmental awareness. Always be aware of the surrounding. Who's there? What is he or she capable of? What's my vulnerability? As a police officer, you see three fellas and you're alone. Can I engage three persons? Is it okay to just run away today? Not because I'm a police officer, right? That I could go and take on three guys, knowing that no way I'll be able to successfully get out of that situation, right? So, do you want to do that? Or do you want to now, say, what? Let me see. I'll take a good look at the face, try, and then now it's okay to pull back, call for backup, and then now, then you go, you go on the aggressive at that point when you are properly equipped to deal with the situation. So, risk assessment is a daily continuous activity that we must engage in. So for again the 5 stages of violent crime. First, there must be the intent. So a criminal, for you to be a victim of robbery, that person must have the intention to commit that crime. The second stage is the interview, right? And interview doesn't mean that the person will let's say engage you in a civil kind of way. Firstly, there will certain action that will take place. They'll be coordinated between 2 or 3 persons where somebody will be doing a reconnaissance of your place, a recce. Go and check, go check how many felons are there. You know, how many they have security, they have armed guards, where they keep, how many people inside there, where the money is at, who are the money. Those kind of things they would do. Right? So somebody may come in there making it look like he's a normal business, a normal customer walking around. Just yeah, just to see. Now you must, as the business owner, try to be observant. Your security guards must be observant. There's nothing more irritating than I go into a business place and I see the security guard on his phone texting, and he or she is not even focusing on, the role that he is supposed to be playing. Right? And I see police officers too, out on patrol or at a dance or at an event, and you're texting on the phone. So, and those things happen so quickly, right? So by the time the person comes in, you must have been able to profile one, because that's our job as security personnel. Profile. Okay, who's a genuine customer? Who's a suspicious customer? So a good police officer, by the time that person comes in and try to do this surveillance, would now profile and say, okay, boy, let me keep an eye out on him or whoever he is with. Right? Then, so that is what the interview is. Right? That person will come in, do their reconnaissance. Right? And then now, the third stage is they will be positioning themselves to commit that robbery. So then now they go into the bank. There is a armed security guard. They will position themselves close to the security guard because he's the danger. And the question is now, that criminal will make a decision. Do I now just take out that security, or do I stick him up? What do I do? So he now will position himself. Do I go behind him? Do I go to the side? Where do I position myself to engage? And then now the fourth stage is the attack. This is a robbery. Pass it. Give me your cash. Give me your money. Go on the ground. Put your hands in the air. Whatever. Right? There is the attack. Right? And then now the fifth stage is the reaction, where boom, they collect your cash, collect the money, and then flee from there, try to escape. Right? So a crime, a case of a robbery, is a process. It has a goal and easily identifiable stages. Negating any one stage may neutralize the process. So those 5 stages, if you as the security or as the police or as the business person, you are able to identify and neutralize any of those areas, you are now able to, one, make go think twice, boy. What? They man on to me already, right? So he is trying to position himself behind the security, but the security observed that already. The security reposition himself and prepare himself and put his hand on his firearm. Right? That alone now has disturbed the process of him positioning himself to attack. And then now he has to come back again, and decide, should I, will I be successful? Right? So it is important that not just the police, the security, the business person, the civilian, because you, as a homeowner, you can be a victim of robbery. You, as a ordinary citizen walking the street, can be a victim of robbery. And then you walking up the road at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the night, and you see 2 fellas walking behind you. You don't know who they are. They have hoodies. Right? Are you going to play them no mind? No. Then you try to move on the other side of the road. Try to see what they're going to do. Are they going to move on the other side of the road too? If they move on the other side, then you move the other side. You move again. See, are they gonna move move? Try to walk faster. Then you begin to see, because they are now trying to position themselves to attack. So it's for you now to observe that and to be able to counter that activity, and to prevent and to avoid being, a victim.
True.
So what I just spoke of there is an internationally recognized system to identify and determine when you are being set up for a crime. So those are the five. So we have the intent, the interview, the positioning, the attack, and the reaction. And again, we speak of the crime triangle. There must be the intent, there must be the ability, and then the opportunity to commit that crime. Right? So the question is now, you did not identify any of the five areas we spoke about there now, and now you have positioned yourself to be a victim of a robbery. What are you going to do, Ulan? What do you think is the best thing to do? Should you how are you going to react? And the most important thing for me, as law enforcement, is that for you to ensure that you remain alive during one of those difficult situations, right? Try not to be a hero, one. And we had yesterday we buried this gentleman from Mabush, Maga, and how it was unfortunate the way he lost his life. But again, the question is, did he understand what exactly was happening? Um, did he understand what was happening? Was it just a reaction? Did he analyze and assess the situation? Did he think it was one that he could handle adequately? Was it a poor judgment on his part? And sometimes, we could ask all the questions now, but, the fact is it has already happened. So now it is my job to tell you, if you have become a victim of a robbery, what you should and should not do. So you have become a victim of a robbery. You should try your best to stay calm. Do not make any sudden movements to upset the robber, because you have dropped your guards, and then you have become a victim. Do not do anything to upset the robber. The robber himself might be more scared than you, right?
You say he's robbing you in fear.
And he's robbing you in fear. And if he now believes that he himself will be attacked, he may react and react stupidly. So he's armed with a firearm, he's armed with a knife. He wants to rob you, or he or she wants to rob you, but he or she does not want to be incarcerated, doesn't want to go to jail. Neither does he or she wants to lose his life.
Or he or she feels threatened at the
Right?
same time.
So your reaction at the time can cause him to respond in a way that could be detrimental to your well-being and your health. So secondly, assess the situation. You may have to do exactly as you are told. If somebody come and grab your chain, don't try to fight over a chain. A chain is a chain. A chain can be replaced, but your life cannot be replaced. Right? So try not to. He wants the chain, he wants the ring, he wants the wallet. Go ahead and give that. Right? Activate your alarms only if you can do so safely.
When you say alarms,
Right? The bank will have alarm mechanisms. The business place may have. Your private house may have your alarm. But you don't want to activate the alarm and causing the man now to panic, right, or get upset, and then kill you or your customers. Right. However, if you could do that safely, if it's a place where, for example, in the bank, and he's the only one there, and then the cashiers are behind the counter, and they are able to move away and activate the alarm. Yes, they can do that. Lock the door, keep him inside. But if you cannot do that safely, it is not recommended that you do it. Tell the robber about anything that may surprise him, such as, you have multiple security, the police is expected to come here shortly, something, that will cause them boy to think and scare them away. If you have to move or reach for anything, so they might ask you, I want your money, or I want your wallet. If you're gonna reach for your wallet, tell the robot you have what you are going to do and why. I'm going to put mine in my pocket. I'm gonna get you the wallet. Don't let him believe that you have a gun and then you're trying to get a gun because he might shoot you in that process.
True.
Right? Try to get a good look at the robber so that you can describe him later. And that is important. I know when we become victims of crime, there's the adrenaline rush, there is this panicky, but of importance is trying to get a proper description of who that individual, height, size, clothing.
So like what I see on TV, you have some sketch artists who actually could actually draw person.
Well, I don't think we have that St. Lucia, from my knowledge, we don't have that sketch artist, but it's something that law enforcement officers use. It's something I think I would love to recommend that we would have, because you could see how on TV how it assists with identifying criminals in investigations, and but again, we all have realized that there has been increased use of CCTV,
Yes.
Especially in and around the towns and even private residents. So if you are able now to get a proper description of that person, even if he's masked at the time, but you get his clothing, you get height, you get size,
Even the style of
the way he walks, those kind of things. Now the police can always go back and review camera footage, because like I said, there will be the interview by the criminal who would come early, do his reconnaissance, check out the place, count out the place, meet different persons, before he acts. So if you are able to provide that description, then the police can always go back, review those tapes, see if anybody meets that description, who they met, who else may be part and parcel of that incident, whether they have any vehicle close by, what vehicle could have been used, to escape the getaway vehicle. So it's important that you, even though it's a difficult situation, try your best to, one, try to get a good look at that person, and as soon as that person has left, try to write down, a description of what you saw, so that when the police come back to interview you, you could give an exact description of the clothes, you could give a description of the height, you could give the shoes, those kind of things, so that you could always reproduce that when you are interviewed. Don't be a hero, right? It's better to lose your money or jewelry than to lose your life. If you're a business person, the person who wants the money, give the money. Yes, I know you have worked, it will put you back, it will, affect your business operation temporarily, but it's better that you lose the money than to lose your life. Right? Give the robber time to live. Give the robber time to live. If the robber has run out of the place, don't run after him or her. Because him or her may just be outside thinking that you're trying to attack him or her. And then boom, out of panic, just fire a shot and shoot you and kill you, And I think that was the case in Maguish, right? The robber left with the cash and the guy pursued, not realizing that I'm suspecting that he didn't realize the person was armed.
Yeah, because
right?
The robber wasn't punching to it.
Yeah, and the robber himself panicked because I guess the guy was catching up with him, and maybe the guy knew him. So now he knows that if this guy identifies me, I'm going to spend some time in jail. So there was a reaction that resulted in his death, right? Note his direction of travel when he leaves. And if you have note where he has gone, so then you could tell police, okay, he left in the direction of Palmis, or he left in the direction of Fort Beignet, or he left in the direction of Church Street, Boulevard Street. So then a response team now can know where and what to look for.
Sure.
Try to get a description of his vehicle only if you can do so without exposing yourself to harm. Again, the getaway vehicle is important. The police would have had assets on the road doing patrol vehicles that could be communicated via VHF, and police officers can be on the lookout for that vehicle or person. So if that is communicated properly, then now the police is better able to intercept and apprehend that person.
True.
What to do during a robbery? Try to stay calm. Don't make any sudden movement to upset the robber. Do exactly as you are told. Do not resist. And I said, activate your alarms only if you could do so secretly, right? Give them time to leave, know the directions, right? And get the description of the vehicle that he or she. What to do after a robbery? Call the police immediately, even if you have already activated your alarm. So even if you have alarm system, call the police. And that was one thing that was disappointing. One incident that we had, the massive robbery, right? The massive robbery at Choiseul, or the massive burglary, because there was a robbery because the security was robbed, but there was the part where the the security alarm were activated, right? However, nobody called the police immediately after the incident. And had that happened, because the police station at Choiseul is less than 2 minutes away drive from Marcy. So had that been communicated to the police, one, Choiseul would have deployed a team. Two, Choiseul would have contacted Soufre to deploy a team, right? And then now from there would be a chain of action that follows. So Soufre would also activate canneries, and canneries activate ancillary, and Choiseul now activate library, and library activate Viewport. So all those stations are now looking out for a suspect, a vehicle, something that, before that vehicle now gets out of our radar. So, it is important that this information is communicated as soon as possible. Call the police. Don't try to see what was stolen. You were robbed. As soon as the person leaves, call 999. It's a free call. 911. Those are free calls. Call the crime tip line 555. I've just been robbed. This is the description of the person. This is the vehicle. This is what actually he or she left. Try to do that. Close the store and lock the door if it's your store or your home. And if you have the keys. So if you have the keys, lock up so that robber don't come back. Right? Because what may happen, and we had the case, I don't know how much you know about the First National robbery, right? Where the vehicle the staff were traveling on was intercepted, and they were brought back to the bank. And then at that point, they were forced to open, and take the cash from the bank. So it may be a case where the person robbed your store, you rob the bank, the bank of the cash. There has been an alert of by whether for your internal alarms or somebody who saw something, and the police now deployed quickly, or there was a police close by, and that thief is ran out with the gun and cash, and then he sees the police. What is he going to do? He may just have to go back into the bank. Now there are 3-4 persons there that he could now hold hostage and try to negotiate his way out using those persons as hostage. So as soon as that robbery happened, the security, yes, lock up the place. He now can't run back in. So now he is faced with police officers outside, covering on both ends. What does he do? Surrender. Right? But if you allow him that opportunity to run back into your business place, it may just further escalate the situation where you now become not just a victim of a robbery, but a hostage. Right? So it's important that you do that. Do not discuss the details of the robbery with witnesses or fellow employees. Now you may ask why. So you come to my store and you rob me, right? And then now you rob me and you believe I don't know you, Ulan, but I know you very because you're a friend of mine, and I'm able to, even if you have a mask on your face, I was talking, but that person look like Ulan. So just imagine now I go and discuss with an employee. I know that's Ulan man, from the walk and the hair and everything, right? That employee now go and discuss with somebody else, and Erlen now finds out that, hey, I, Kim Roy, know Erlen knows he or she is the one. That now puts me at a further risk because Erlen might want to come back and threaten me and say, if you talk, or may just go and just commit some harm to me because I'm the only person who can put him or her behind bar. Right? So it's important that, you don't discuss. The only person you should talk to is the police. Give the police that description in your interview. Let the police know what you have seen. Let them deal with that. And again, we never know who else is involved. Because from my experience in law enforcement, especially in business place type of robberies, 75% of the time, there is somebody from inside who is the one providing information to the criminal. This is the time that they're having the cash. This is the amount of cash they're having. That's the number of security guards they have. The security is armed or is not armed. On a Wednesday, what time the security goes to lunch, what time he comes back. All those things. 90%, a lot of the time, is somebody from inside is furnishing that criminal and could be the mastermind. Because I don't know if the first national robbery situation, a staff was arrested and charged for being part and parcel of the robbery. Right? A staff was arrested and charged. So, it's most of the time it's somebody, and that now brings me to the point of, even when you are hiring persons, it's always important that you do your due diligence, do your background checks, know your staff, know who their friends are, who their associates are, who their partners are. Check their social media feeds, what they're doing on social media, who they're interacting with. Right? Get an understanding of who they are. So at the end of the day, you don't hire somebody who would put your business place at further risk. Sure. Let me say good morning to Thekla Rennie. Always join us on the live. Good morning, Thekla. How are you doing? Right? So, those are the things that we need to, some of us, we need staff urgently, and the first person who comes, we hire without doing the proper background check. Engage the police. It's always good to have a conversation with your police. Do you know this person? What kind of character he or she is? Is there any on record about him or her? Sure. Right? So at the end of the day, you protect your business place from being possible victim of a robbery. Do your investigation. Yep, do your investigation. It's important that you do your investigation. Ask any witness to stay until the police arrive. If they can't, get the name, phone numbers, and address. There are persons who would have witnessed who were present. You may need those persons to be able to provide some information that you may not have been able to provide. So you could try your best to ask them to stay so that the police come. Do not touch anything that the robber may have touched. Blocked off areas where the robbers was, if necessary. It's always important. And when I was here with Sergeant Donatien from the crime scene unit, we spoke of crime scene preservation. Yes. Don't contaminate a crime scene. And just a recent situation came to my attention, which I was very much disappointed with my fellow police officers. So some female were traveling on a particular route, and then their vehicle was accosted by two men, one with a cutlass, one with a firearm. One with the firearm opened the door and pointed the gun at the driver and said, "Do not move or I'll shoot you." The driver was brave enough to drive off. Wow. Right? And then went to the closest police station. What should have happened right there and then is that vehicle be detained and protected, and the scenes of crime unit called in to assess that vehicle, to examine that vehicle, to see whether any fingerprint was left on by that individual, and two, any DNA evidence was left by that individual. That would have been your first lead in that investigation. That is your first lead. So the person enters the bank, he robs the people in the bank. He pushes the door to open to exit. That door should remain closed until crime scene reach there, or so that nobody now can tamper with that door. If an alternative exit or entrance have to be found, it has to be opened, right? Because you want to preserve that so that at the end of it, the investigation can continue,
That's true.
right? Um, Try to recall as much as you can about the robber's appearance, speech, and mannerism, and take notes. Right? That's straightforward. That's not something I think we need to speak too much about.
That's true.
Step outside the store when the police arrive so that they will know that the robber is gone and the place is safe. So there was a robbery. You've called the police has arrived. The police is not just going to barge in because they don't know if the robber is there. So then at that point, if that information has not been communicated to the police as yet, you now can come out and say, yes, the person has left. So now the police can come in. And if now you need to give them any further directions as to who the person is, where they went to, then they now could redirect assets and resources to try to apprehend and intercept that suspect.
True.
Let the police answer inquiries from the media, and the media personnel need to understand that. Sometimes the media places the witnesses at more risk than anything. And I recall we had this incident in January where there was a murder, right? And a certain media house interviewed the primary witness who spoke about what he saw, who he saw, what he heard, what direction they went. And that person's face was not even protected.
No blur.
Nothing. And I'm like, in my mind, why are you doing that? Compromising the safety and just so that you could say you have news, just to say you have the best news, compromising the safety of that individual. Because now that the perpetrators know that mate saw, there's somebody who saw. Who is this? Yes, the witness. Who is he? Where does he live? Where does he work? What does he do? Right? How do we get him or get to him? Right? So it is important that we understand that. Let the police deal with the inquiries from the media, because as a police officer, I cannot go to the media without the approval of the commissioner or the press office. We have the press office that are trained in how to interact with the media, what to tell them and what not to tell them. A police officer should never take it on his own to just go and give the public an interview. He or she must get the approval of the commissioner of police, and that is clear in our police time orders. That dealing with the media, let the press office and the office of the commissioner, they may ask you, they may approve you doing it, but they will tell you what you should and not to say. Right? Do not discuss the amount of money taken with anyone other than the police. Do not give specifics so that at the end of the day you don't put out any unnecessary information out there to the public. Robbery prevention techniques. Keep your windows, doors clear of signs and posters to allow two-way visibility. Employees can see suspicious person outside, and passers-by and police can see inside. I see some business places have all kind of stickers on their windows, right? And you could barely see what's happening inside. So it could be a case where there's a robbery happening, a police officer passes right there and is not able to see because, that that thing is creating an obstruction and he can't see what's happening inside. Keep the outside of your business well lit at night. Make sure that your cash register area is clearly visible to outside observers, right? Practice good cash control. Keep a minimum amount in your cash drawer and make regular drop-off into a safe. I'm with so many situations where large amounts of monies are kept into certain places overnight, are kept for the entire daytime. that is a risk because somebody inside will know about it and can tell somebody else about it and say, hey, I said, if we go in there at that time, you will get, yeah. And as you said, take away the temptation. If you eliminate that, eliminate the opportunity, then you will not be a victim. But as long as you create the opportunity, then there is expectation that at some point you will become a victim.
Let's use a deposit bag.
Yes, use your night deposit bag. Use your night deposit bag. And just speaking of that, brings me back to the death of one of our colleagues, Constable Timet, because he was killed during what we would say was an armed robbery. He was providing safety and security for a business person who was leaving his or her business place, taking the proceeds of the day from his business place in the city to their home. And again, the question is, as a police officer, did the officer conduct a proper risk assessment of what exactly he or she was engaged in? Because my advice to that businessman would have been get a night deposit bag and let us deposit that money in the bank. Because at the end of the day, just go into a remote or take that money to your house, create a further level of security risk for you, the person, and also me providing that security assistance to you. Okay, so it's important that risk assessments are done every time you go out there as a police officer. It is your job to engage in a risk assessment, assess the risk, assess the threat. Can I become a victim? How will I become a victim? Who may be my target? Right? You have to do that. Right? Um, Advertise outside that you keep minimum amount of cash in the register and that you will not accept large bills. Do not keep large bills under the cash drawer. If you don't have a safe, find a less obvious place to hide your extra cash until you go to the bank. So you don't want to keep a lot of money in your cash, in your till, and then somebody comes and see bills of 100 notes, 50 notes, and then now automatically that triggers him. I remember I used to work at the bank a long time ago, and as a teller, you were always advised not to keep large amounts. As long as you have the 100 bills, a large amount of cash, you take it out and then you have it placed in the safe, so that at the end of the day, if there is to be a robbery, no large amount of money can be taken away from you at that time. So, I mean, that's something I learned from the time I worked at the bank, because, on a daily basis, you would interact, you would get large amounts of money,
Okay.
So it's your job now to make sure that you don't have too much. You must have enough to serve the customers, but not too much that would attract any kind of, negative attention. And even with the till we had at the time, yes, you would have a separate compartment from the drawer. So your large bills would be in there. And if anybody who comes would just see a few hundred notes, so that would not be a temptation, really. Use a safe that the clerk cannot open alone or that requires two keys. Pose the fact that conspicuously including that the safe on the safe itself, that one person should never be able to open your safe, right? Especially if you're a large business person. Try to get a safe with multiple combinations so that at the end of the day, not one person can use it. Use video camera surveillance and make it well known. Always have at least two clerks working at nights. Utilize armed escort services. Advertise the fact that you have armed escort services, right? Time is running out on us, and we're going to go into the period of personal safety. Have a knowledge and understanding of what the threat is, what the crime triangle is, the ability, opportunity, intent. Try to walk away. Develop different habits. Don't always use the same habit. Don't always pass the same place all the time. Use different exit entry routes. Use different techniques. Use different times to deposit your money. Don't deposit the money every day at midday. Don't do that every day. People know your routine. And it's important. One thing, business place must also be observant of is those little boys that come and sit down outside your business.
Get rid of them.
Get rid of those. Call the police when they are there. It's our job to respond when you call. And if the police don't respond, then you report wherever you have to report. It's our job. You see suspicious character, you call, hey, they are suspicious. Harass those individuals because their job, what they will be doing there, is sitting and monitoring and observing what time you coming in, what time you going out, what time you depositing money, whether you have security, whether there's surveillance, where is surveillance pointing at. Those are the things they do when they sit outside your business place. Right?
Surveillance.
Yes, they will. And trust me, the advantage they have, and that you and I don't have, is that they have time on their hand because they ain't working. So they have enough time to sit down, just monitoring, and then they're planning, and they wait for the right time to execute. So it's important that, have a knowledge of self-worth and boundaries. Try not to keep, like you said, don't allow anybody to come up to you. Have situational environmental awareness, right? Verbal boundaries. If you realize young fellas by your place, let them know, I ain't like your fellas there, go call the police.
True.
Right? Let them know that. Right? And physical self-defense, if you're a business person and you know you're gonna have a large amount of cash, apply for your firearm. Get an armed guard. Get somebody who can provide some level of security and safety for you. Right? So, that is basically what we want the public to understand, that we are approaching the busy season. There will be a large amount of activity. We want each and every member of the public to ensure that he or she does everything to avoid himself from being a victim. What I will also do is we have prepared some small brochures highlighting some of what I've just spoken about there. So as business people, we could make it available at the station. We could disseminate to the people so that you could continue to sensitize yourself, sensitize, the public, your staff on what they should and should not do, so that you are not a victim of a robbery. From our end as police officers, we will do everything within our powers to increase our patrols, implement.
I was about to myself because even the officers on patrols, you will actually
Yes.
that and then
Yes.
out to the business place.
Definitely. So we will be rolling out, and we have begun rolling out our seasonal operational strategy. As you would have seen, we had a major operation on Wednesday where we conducted some searches. We will be doing more traffic checks, more house searches for illegal firearms. We will be ensuring that vehicles meet this road worthiness standards. So and we will be using a lot of new strategies, to try to prevent, any of the situations that we have seen happen in all other part of the island.
Because you have business persons, they don't want to venture out because they want to stay there to protect the business.
The business, yes.
You understand?
Yeah, and for me, like I tell you, anytime one of those incidents happen, as the inspector in charge of the district, I feel that I have failed the people, because we must provide the citizenry that level of confidence in the police that we can provide a service to them, that they can continue the business and do it safely without being a victim of crime. Fear of, just even the homeowners not wanting to go out because you don't want to be a victim of a robbery. And I believe nobody should live in fear. Everybody should feel free. Everyone should feel comfortable. Back in the days, my parents would go Babylon and leave the house door open and not be afraid that anybody would have gone in. But can we do that now? And I think that is the stress that we need to take away from the public. We need to do our patrols more rigorously, more aggressively, to ensure that the public have that confidence that, one, they are protected, and two, that the criminal element are not given the opportunity to feel that they could successfully get away, right, with criminal activity. So once again, I employ every single person. Provide the police, support the police officers. Provide the information that of any criminal activity. We know who the criminals are. We know what they're engaged in. We know where they live. We know who have the firearms. We know who are bringing strangers in our communities, and that is one thing I will not accept Sufurians doing. right? We bring people from Viewfort, people from Marigo, people from Grass Street, from Graveyard. The Soufrière seem to be the area for them, right? Where they come online, because Soufrière is a nice chilling spot. And I encourage you not to entertain those kind of activities, because when you do, then all you are doing is creating that opportunity for criminals now to, one, do the surveillance, see your vulnerabilities, and then now engage in criminalities. So I want to employ everyone. If you see something, say something. Inform the police. Get my number. I always give my number. It's 485-9062. You could contact me, or you could contact my office at 456-3620. Any information, if you don't feel comfortable speaking to all of us, I am available to take your information and to ensure that there is a response to that. Also, there is the crime tip line 555. You could call that number, and I could assure you that a response will be provided to your information. Or there's the crime tip line app, where you could give information, download via from iOS or Android devices. Download that app, and you could provide information to the police anonymously. Nobody will know who you are, where you're from, what you are doing, why you need information. All they want is the information that you're providing. So I employ that. I employ each and every person to. You are responsible for your community. And again, I go back to the police principle, that the police is the community, and the community is the police. And it is our job to keep our people safe. Once again, it was a pleasure being on Police Forum. Looking forward to next Friday, where we'll continue the discussions, continue educating and sensitizing you on police matters, areas that we believe we should sensitize you as we start the cruise season. We will be trying our best to implement our traffic management plan in Soufrière, and to ensure that everything moves smoothly, everything goes on quietly. Again, for the season, our police patrols, there will be inconveniences. We will be conducting more traffic checks and patrols to ensure that everybody enjoys a fantastic and festive season. Thank you very much.